US Secretary of State Rubio has held talks with senior officials in New Delhi. The two sides discussed trade, energy, defence cooperation and the conflict in the Middle East. Indian Foreign Minister Jaishankar said the government plans to diversify its energy sources, citing the impact of instability in the Middle East on global supplies. Well, Neha Poonia joins us live from New Delhi. Good to see you, Neha. So ahead of this visit, Rubio said Washington is ready to sell India, quote, as much energy as it's willing to buy to make up for the lost Middle Eastern supplies. Nevertheless, Trump trade tariffs remain on the country. Do Indian businesses feel more assured after this visit?
That's certainly the question, isn't it, Neha? You know, this is very much being dubbed as a visit aimed at repairing what has been a year of friction and bilateral ties, not just over trade, given that India was one of the countries facing the highest tariff slabs imposed by the White House, but also because of the sort of proximity we've seen between Washington, D.C. and Islamabad, India's long-standing arch rival. And that's soured ties. And what we've seen now from Rubio is a messaging aimed at trying to repair some of that friction. He's talked about how India remains an important strategic partner. He said that ties between India and the US have not lost momentum and that America's engagement with other countries, be that Pakistan or China, he didn't name them, but he said that doesn't reflect on how New Delhi is viewed by Washington. But importantly, he's also said that, both sides have talked about energy ties. India's also agreed that there's been a big uptick in Indian import of American crude in the last 1 year or so. India says it wants to do this because given current conditions, it wants to ensure it has a reliable source of crude oil. It's one of the world's largest importers of energy. And we heard before Marco Rubio left the US, he talked about this, saying that it wants India to buy as much crude as possible, not just from the US, but also from Venezuela. So that's certainly been something that has been discussed. But, Marco Rubio has also posted on X saying that the Indian government has agreed to buy $500 billion in US goods over the next 5 years in sectors such as technology and agriculture. This is something that the Indian government has not yet commented or confirmed. And this is going to be interesting. The devil will be in the details. What sort of reciprocity has been promised, if at all? Because Indian traders have been telling us that they look at the US as an unreliable market, given the sort of uncertainty that continues over tariffs. And as such, they've been looking to diversify trade to other regions like the EU and, the Gulf region and Southeast Asia. So we still don't know what's been agreed on the trade front. But Marco Rubio is saying he's confident a trade deal will be signed very soon.
Neha, Pakistan has been in the limelight a lot as the main mediator in the Iran-US talks, while India has grown closer to Israel diplomatically. So where does India currently stand on the possibility of a negotiated end to the war brokered by India's nuclear neighbour?
This is something that India has faced criticism from, especially from opposition parties. Many have said that despite having links to both Iran and the US, it wasn't New Delhi that America turned to for negotiating an end to the war with Iran. It was Islamabad, and many call this a diplomatic setback for India. But the government has been disparaging of Pakistan's role, saying that it doesn't want New Delhi to do what Pakistan is doing. But at the same time, it's maintained that it would welcome an end to hostilities, given the sort of outsized impact that economies in the global south, including India, have been facing because of the war in Iran. And that's something that, Dr. S. Jaishankar referenced standing alongside Marco Rubio as well. He said that, India has links with many countries in the Gulf region. He named Israel and Iran. He said India is not interested in a zero-sum game. It has to work, diplomatically to balance all of these interests. But at the end, it does want to see an end to hostilities, and it should be a negotiated end to hostilities, he says. It also wants to protect its interests in the region, Dr. Jaishankar said, insinuating the large number of Indian diaspora that lives there, and also wants to keep markets open and see oil prices stabilize. That's a big concern for India. About 60% of its crude oil needs comes from the region through the Strait of Hormuz, and India has really been feeling the pinch. It's raised fuel prices thrice in 2 weeks. As it tries to protect its country of 1.4 billion from the effects of a war that it's not involved in directly.
Neha, many thanks for that. Neha Poonia there, joining us live from New Delhi.